He was set to be one of the state's top law enforcement officials until Fox 13 News obtained and published this video.
Tonight, after several in-depth Fox 13 News investigations, a final decision has been made about Wasatch County Sheriff Jared Rigby.
There's been a chill in the air, but there's a slight warm-up on the way. We'll tell you when it will be here coming up.
We got to figure out where that water's actually coming from first.
These cold temperatures cause your pipes to freeze and then they burst. Coming up, hear from plumbers what you should do next.
A bill requiring elections to be audited passes in the House. What this means for future elections.
A close call in the Little Cottonwood Canyon backcountry.
Like, I'm sure I would have panicked had something like that happened to me.
Tonight, we hear from the skier caught in this avalanche. Coming up.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Your perception is wrong. It really comes down to the future, your future in the police department.
We couldn't just stand by and watch that happen.
We can't allow for any eroding of that public trust.
Wasatch County Sheriff Jared Rigby is no longer being considered to direct the training and investigating of Utah peace officers. Earlier this month, he was just hours away from being sworn in when state leaders, including Governor Cox, learned more about a Fox 13 News investigation showing a video of Sheriff Rigby allegedly bullying and intimidating a police officer.
You just won't get any trusted positions having to do with DT and use of force and sergeant and those kinds of things because you're not willing to learn and be open-minded to it.
Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbets was at today's emergency meeting and has been following every step of this process. Adam joins us now live in studio with a look at what comes next.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kelly, if Jared Rigby got this position, basically it would be his job to police the police. But today, a committee of his peers, including other chiefs and sheriffs, said they are no longer willing to move forward with his appointment. And now the search process is starting from scratch.
Do we have any further discussion?
This board spent more than 3 hours in closed session discussing the character of Sheriff Jared Rigby.
Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
By the time they were finished, the vote was almost unanimous. Sevier County Sheriff Nate Curtis, the only man still supporting Rigby for a job he's no longer going to get.
Post is the backbone of all law enforcement. It is such a critical area and an opportunity to be able to guide and lead.
Commissioner Jess Anderson stopped Rigby's appointment from going through just days before his swearing-in ceremony because he was concerned with a bullying and intimidation complaint filed with the same agency Rigby was about to lead.
The only way that you can get in trouble here is if you don't do what we ask you to do.
Would you like me to watch all of it? Or?
At first, the sheriff refused to answer questions. Last month, we showed him the video, and he had no comment. Today, he also had nothing to say.
Well, there's no animosity with Sheriff Rigby. Again, he's a good man. He does a fine job, does a great job up in Wasatch County. I was able to shake his hand and wish him well, but at the same time, it's in the best interest of the state to be able to move forward.
We couldn't just stand by and watch that happen.
Scott Stevenson is the executive director of Utah's largest police union. His retirement last year is the reason the post director job is open. He says the state made the right decision.
These are all educated individuals, and they're always aware of what's going on around them. If they read the news, then they can't avoid what the work you've done.
Now the committee is starting over from scratch. The commissioner says these are the qualities he's looking for.
Someone who has the utmost integrity, the ability to make good decisions and judgments, and also being impartial and unbiased in every which way. We can't allow for any eroding of that public trust.
If we felt like he checked all those boxes, we would not have asked the governor to halt the process.
So even though the sheriff had no comment today, we do know from his emails that he's planning on filing a lawsuit against the state, or at least he planned on doing that a few weeks ago, for violating hiring and employment laws. of course, we'll keep you updated when we know more about that.
Adam, your first story on the sheriff was several months ago. Do you think you would have the job today if your first story wasn't aired?
Well, really, our first story was in 2021, and then we kind of brought it back up just about a month ago. Would he have gotten the job today? I don't know. I mean, they don't tell us what happens in closed session, but we do know the reason his swearing-in ceremony was postponed was in anticipation of our story. So definitely played a role, I think.
Yeah, you've been following it closely. Thank you for the update tonight.
Yeah, Adam, thanks. Switching gears to weather now, it has been downright frigid these past few days. Here's a live look at one of UDOT's cameras in Big Cottonwood Canyon. Well, I don't think this is a live picture, but while it's been dangerously cold, there is a warm up on the horizon.
Here comes the
Wouldn't
car.
that be nice?
Yeah, I think that was a live picture.
Was that live?
That was the traffic cam. It's just black and white. It's dark.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it looked like there was sunlight
it looked like there was still sun out there.
I think the reflection of the lights up there and car lights off the snow is deceiving.
The snow is pretty reflective. You can see that here just with our Oquirrh Mountain camera. You can kind of see how bright things actually look. We do have some haze and a little bit of cloud cover, but it has been frigid out there. The Logan Airport this morning at -27 degrees. Vernal at -18. Snowville -13 in Salt Lake. Boy, that feels balmy in comparison. Our temperature this morning was 10. Oh, that's warm, all things considering. It feels like 2 in Logan, -6 in Evanston, and -12 in Vernal, and it feels like it's 14 in Provo. That's when you factor in the wind and the moisture on your skin with the wind chills. But the actual air temperatures around 20 here in Salt Lake and -5 in Manti. Still pretty cold in St. George at 27 and -2 in Milford. It is going to be another very cold morning tomorrow. There's a little bit of cloud cover moving through, but not enough to keep it warm out there at all. It will still be mostly clear tonight. Temperatures again will be around 10 to 15 degrees in Salt Lake, but a lot of places will still be well below zero. So we'll take a look at your specific location forecast and talk about our January climate data all straight ahead.
Dina, thanks. Public utilities have been inundated with calls today. Salt Lake City has had more than 130 calls about frozen pipes. Sandy City says at least 40 customers there are in that same situation. And with that, of course, you can imagine it's been a nonstop busy day for plumbers responding to all of those calls.
They tell Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser this usually happens at the beginning of the season, but the current cold spell has a lot of pipes freezing and then bursting.
This is the state of Allison McCulloch's kitchen as plumbers with expert services, plumbing, heating, air, and electrical try to get to the source of this water.
I just heard like a gush of water came out and my ceiling was flooding.
Hello. McCulloch was one of many calls these plumbers have received all day. Her kitchen pipes froze, then burst.
I've already cried today. We've already panicked, so now we're good. Now I can think level-headed.
McCulloch said she left her faucet dripping overnight, but plumbers say you should actually have more of a steady stream like this and keep the faucet in between hot and cold.
Really, she did everything that you can do, but if you don't have good insulation, there's only so much you can do before you have something like this happen.
Master plumber Nathan Berg says if your pipes freeze, open the cupboards and ramp up the heat in your home.
It's like butter.
And if you have copper pipes like McCulloch,
Oh, that tiny thing causes huge issues.
know you're more at risk of freezing.
When that ice expands, it is a little bit more fragile, so it ends up splitting, whereas plastic can kind of absorb it a little bit more.
Berg says service companies have thawing machines that can help too.
Call your mom, call your dad, that's what I did. Call your plumber, they're great. Maybe I'll have a better kitchen at the end of this. So that's a hope now, I guess.
In Taylorsville, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Taylorsville police are searching for whoever shot and killed 2 men late last night.
Police got a call of shots fired just before 11:30 p.m. at the Atherton Park Apartments in the 4500 block of South Atherton Drive. When police arrived, they found the 2 victims who have yet to be identified.
Right now, both the detectives are currently working with the medical examiner's office to work on some more forensics analysis to try to determine first off who they are so we can confirm their identities, to be able to contact their families, notify them.
If you know anything that could help detectives, please call Taylorsville Police.
A man is dead tonight after being hit by 2 cars this morning in Salt Lake City's Rose Park neighborhood. Happened near the Smith's Food and Drug Store at 1200 West, 600 North. Police say a car was turning east when it hit 69-year-old Alan Dice, who was in the crosswalk. That driver got out to help Dice after he hit him. A short time later, another car making that same turn hit Dice on the ground, as well as a bystander. Dice died on the scene. The other person suffered minor injuries and did not need to go to the hospital. The investigation is ongoing. This was the second traffic-related fatality in Salt Lake City in 2023.
2 Northrop Grumman employees died at the company's facility in Magna last night. West Valley City Police and Unified Fire responded right around 6 p.m. on a report of 2 employees who were found unconscious. They were taken to the hospital but were soon pronounced dead. Fox 13 News is working to confirm details about what happened. The Occupational Health and Safety Administration will lead the investigation. Northrop Grumman says it is cooperating with that investigation. They say they're working with its Employee Assistant Program for support and family services. Their statement sent to Fox 13 News goes on to say, quote, "Our employees are our most valued part of our business, and this is a tragedy that affects our entire workforce."
The push to crack down on social media platforms here in Utah continues to grow, where a bill that would impact how teens use certain apps stands tonight.
Plus, what is it like to go down to the coldest place on Earth? We take you on a trip to Peter Sinks.
Jazz Ricky Walker Kessler will participate in All-Star Weekend in the NBA's Future Game. We'll hear from the rookie coming up.
A bill that would require Utah's elections to be audited is making progress on Capitol Hill.
Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree shows us why the state's county clerks do support the bill.
Tuesday afternoon, Utah lawmakers had their first chance to scrutinize Representative Mike Schultz's election audit requirements bill.
HB 269 sets a process in place for us to be able to go forward and audit every general election and every primary election that is associated with the general election.
If passed into law, the Office of the Legislative Auditor General would have to conduct an audit of elections every other year.
We believe strongly that our elections are safe and secure. We believe that our elections have integrity. Do we believe our elections are 100% perfect? No, of course not. We are constantly looking for ways to improve our systems, our processes.
Davis County Clerk Brian McKenzie says election officials all over the state approve of the bill.
And we actively reached out to the legislative auditors and said, come to Davis County, come to our county. We want to talk with you. We want to share what we do. And we want to learn as well.
A 2021 audit found that Utah's voting process is strong. But McKenzie says the state can give voters more confidence that they're voting in fair elections.
I hope that our voters will be reassured that, hey, look, this is something that we're working on, and it's something that we're moving forward.
Committee members unanimously voted in favor of the election audit bill. Reporting on the Hill, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A bill that would crack down on social media platforms accessing Utah children has cleared a state Senate committee.
Spanish Fork Senator Mike McKell wants to require age verification before teens could use apps. The bill also blocks social media companies from targeting advertising aimed at youth and teens.
I mean, I think it would be a lot of this hinges on the idea that we have to provide identification about these minors, but I think it would be naive to think that social media companies don't already know where my kids live, the name of my kids, their gender, their how old they are, where they live, where they're at. They already have that information.
All the Republicans and all the Democrats support this bill. It now goes to the full Senate for a vote.
A proposed constitutional amendment to remove the statute of limitations in sex abuse cases for civil lawsuits is advancing in the legislature. West Jordan Representative Ken Ivory's bill is in response to a controversial Utah Supreme Court ruling that said such lawsuits cannot be retroactive. The bill cleared a House committee on a 10-to-1 vote. If it passes the entire legislature, voters will decide in November.
A bill that tweaks Utah's medical cannabis law got a unanimous vote in a Senate committee today. It increases the length of time for medical cannabis cards for patients and modifies patient conditions. In some circumstances, it also allows for virtual doctor visits to determine whether a patient qualifies. The bill now goes to the full Senate for consideration.
A bill putting a 2-year moratorium on personalized license plates has passed the House of Representatives. On a 53-to-18 vote, the bill moves to the Senate now. Provo Representative Norm Thurston has said that he'd like a moratorium on personalized plates while legal challenges over the First Amendment are settled in other states.
Well, I don't know what your phone says, but my phone says 16 degrees in Salt Lake City, -1 in Logan, and 53 degrees in Denver.
Oh, well.
What's up with that?
That, I can't verify that. I haven't been paying that close attention to Denver's weather. I apologize.
We want to know what's happening here.
Yes,
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely cold here, and that's what you need to know tonight. So let's take a look outside. Here's what it looked like in Neola earlier. Wow, icy, icy. That is the feeling just about everywhere. It was just so cold out there, and it is still cold today. 53, Bob, did your phone really say that?
But it said that this morning, too.
Okay, well, maybe.
When it was 2 degrees.
Okay, I'll look at that later. All right, well, here's what it feels like outside. 14 in Provo, 7 in Price, and it's -23 at Bryce Canyon. So these are the wind chill temperatures, of course, not the actual air temperatures, but it feels like that. That's definitely. Our record for today is -8. Now, today's low hit about 10 degrees. So we weren't near the record in Salt Lake City, but it definitely was cold just about everywhere else. So let's look at some of our climate data, though, for January here, because we're at the end of the month. It felt like it was just really cloudy, and we did actually have a lot of days with cloud cover reported, but our snow total, we had 10 inches here in Salt Lake. Now, I think in contrast, our mountains had much more significant snow. Average snow is a little over a foot. Now, liquid precipitation, when you melt down the snow and you factor in anything else, you got 2.71 inches, which is above average. So we definitely had a wetter month, and it was actually warmer. I know, hard to believe. It was 2.6 degrees warmer than average. Hey, at least it wasn't the record-breaking 50 inches of snow that we had in 1993, and I think there were 30-some inches in 1890 in that month. It was one of the record months as well. That's interesting stuff. Well, 20 degrees now in Salt Lake, and it's 10 at Alta, 5 in Heber. Mostly clear skies tonight, so it'll still be pretty cold out there. Down to 2 right now in Logan, going to definitely get below 0 there, and -12 in Vernal. It's 27 in St. George tonight. So we've got clear skies around and high pressure. A little bit of cloud cover here just scooting on the Utah-Idaho border, but that's pretty much out of here. There's not a lot of active weather around. We should have another day tomorrow with sunshine and building haze in the afternoon again. As high pressure settles in, though, and the coldest air begins to move to the east, temperatures tomorrow will be just a little bit warmer, so not quite so cold. It will increase the cloud cover toward the end of the week, which means we'll mix out some of the bad air as well on about Friday. Now, for tonight, then, it will still be cold. -13 in Logan. Hey, that's not -27 now, is it? So that's an improvement. 12 in Salt Lake and 12 in Provo tonight. About 21 degrees in St. George. Tomorrow, plenty of sunshine, but we'll still have that haze and the air pollution stuck here in Salt Lake City. Higher elevations will actually get a little bit warmer. They'll be above that inversion layer there. So 30 in Park City tomorrow. It'll be 48 in St. George, 30 in Salt Lake, and 28 in Ogden. Logan, you'll struggle to get out of the single digits tomorrow. So you've got some nicer days in southern Utah toward the end of the week. Temperatures do warm up into the 50s, so that'll feel pretty good here. Pretty dry forecast going forward. Wasatch Front, we've got our hazy conditions with the air pollution Wednesday and Thursday, but temperatures do get warmer. We're about average here as far as high temperatures go, around 40, and then our next chance of snow comes in on Sunday.
All right, Dina. It's actually 17 degrees in Denver now. I got an update.
You were a little off.
Yeah, my phone had not updated.
Yeah. Hey, straight ahead, the House bill aimed at protecting Native American children in foster care is put on hold. how Native leaders are responding tonight.
And a special group of lawmakers is working to ensure bills benefiting the Great Salt Lake actually make it through the legislature. We'll introduce you to them.
Welcome back, everyone. In national news, the funeral for Tyree Nichols will be held in Memphis tomorrow.
He's the 29-year-old man whose death has sparked a nationwide outcry. 5 police officers are accused of brutally beating him during a traffic stop earlier this month. The Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver the eulogy. Vice President Kamala Harris will attend, as will family members of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, 2 other people who made headlines and inspired protests after they died at the hands of police officers.
Congressman George Santos is temporarily recusing himself from committee assignments. He told colleagues today he is a, quote, distraction. Santos is facing a federal campaign finance investigation, and he's under investigation in New York for false claims made during his campaign.
Formal charges were filed against actor Alec Baldwin today in connection with the deadly shooting on the set of the movie Rust in 2021. 2 people were hurt when a gun held by Baldwin went off. Baldwin has said he did not pull the trigger. He and the movie's armorer both face charges of involuntary manslaughter. Prosecutors say Baldwin behaved recklessly on set. The actor is not commenting on the charges.
Helping keep the unsheltered warm and out of these bitter cold temperatures.
We opened up our building. We wanted to help.
How Salt Lake City, Salt Lake County, organizations, and a slew of volunteers are helping to do that.
There are certain groups that would prefer not to make alcohol any more enticing.
Some beer brands might disappear from store shelves under the latest liquor bill.
I feel like we're growing in a lot of ways that are necessary for us to become a national championship team.
Coming up, we'll hear from the Queen of the Bean, plus BYU's first ever Big 12 schedule was released.
Salt Lake City and County are teaming up to help get unsheltered people out of these frigid temperatures.
And that includes opening an emergency shelter downtown last night at Central City Recreation Center. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold has the story.
I've been down here on and off, though, for the last 4 years, 5 years.
It's here at the place called The Islands, where Levi Howell, his wife, and 3 dogs call home.
I've mainly been staying inside my tent to stay warm.
Due to the bitter cold temperatures throughout the day and into the night.
It's been pretty cold. There's definitely that worry. I go around sometimes, try to make sure other people haven't frozen, try to check on each other, and try to get other people to do the same. But yeah, there's a good chance we could all freeze out here.
It's why Salt Lake City and county officials are coming together to try and help those who are unsheltered have a warm place to stay.
We just made sure that the building was accessible, that they had what they needed, they had the facilities that they needed.
In a matter of hours, Leonie Rehauti with Salt Lake County Parks and Recreation says they opened up the gym here at Central City Recreation Center Monday night. They partnered with Unsheltered Utah, setting up 90 mats and blankets for those who needed a warm place to stay, and even provided them with some food.
We also recognize that the extreme weather conditions would be very hard for anybody. And since we are in this community and we understand what it is, we wanted to reach out and help.
We know that cold is just not bearable.
Normally, there are 700 permanent beds and 300 permanent beds for families across Salt Lake County. Those numbers go up during the winter, with 340 overflow beds available. 175 of those total beds have been added across the county's 3 resource centers during the winter season. There are also 120 beds at the former Calvin S. Smith Library in Mill Creek, 65 beds at St. Vincent de Paul in downtown Salt Lake, and now the 90 beds that are temporarily available at the Central City Rec Center.
We will make it work. We're not going to turn people away in these cold temperatures. And you just need to be flexible.
As for Hal,
it's a good thing.
He says the emergency shelter is something he, his wife,
Bubba Gus or Gus,
and even his pets may decide to use.
It's a good turn point to allow people just to get off the streets for a night and warm up instead of having to sit here and fight the elements.
Well, officials tell me that 37 people utilized this emergency shelter Monday night, but they expect that all 90 beds will be filled up tonight as we continue to deal with those bitter cold temperatures. Here in Salt Lake, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Hope people find that shelter.
Yeah.
New tonight, we're learning about a police officer who was assaulted at the Utah State Correctional Facility in Salt Lake City.
The Department of Corrections says it happened yesterday afternoon in the Antelope or restricted housing unit. The officer was treated at a nearby hospital and was released last evening. UDC is not releasing the officer's name and is looking at possible charges against the inmate involved in the attack.
Right now, a search is underway for a missing hiker in central Utah. Yesterday, the Sevier County Sheriff's Office posted this video supposedly sent by Austin Madsen to a friend. Several sheriff's offices, including the Iron County, Piute County, and Garfield County Sheriff's offices, have been searching for Madsen near the Mount Dutton area after they got a ping from his cell phone there. Garfield County deputies ended up finding his truck in the Dry Hollow area on Mount Dutton, but not Madsen himself, except for a trail of footprints they believe he left behind. The search is still active, but first responders have had a very difficult time due to the extremely low temperatures and high winds.
Tribal nation leaders from along the West Coast met on Utah's Capitol Hill today, voicing support for House Bill 40. The measure, known as Indian Child Welfare Amendments, gives Native families preference in adoption and foster care choices for Native children. Right now, the bill is stalled in the House Judiciary Committee, which voted 7-5 last week to hold the bill because of concerns from some representatives. Native leaders say the bill is crucial to protect tribal families.
House Bill 40 is something that we need to do in the state of Utah to protect these children so that they may always have that inherent right to their language and their traditions and their culture.
Orem Representative Nelson Abbott, who voted to put the bill on hold, released a statement today saying he would like more discussion and clarification on the bill before it moves forward.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers have formed a special Great Salt Lake caucus designed to ensure bills that help the lake actually pass. The group will work on bills centered around the lake, which has shrunk to historic lows and now presents an economic and ecological crisis for northern Utah. The Great Salt Lake caucus is chaired by Republican Casey Snyder and Democrat Doug Owens.
We're not going to grandstand on this. We're not going to, wave our flag and say this, that, or the other. But what he and I are doing, with the blessing of both the president and the speaker, is coming up with a list of ideas to move this forward.
I think that there's just a strong willingness on the part of leadership and on a bipartisan basis to get it done. So I'm very optimistic about the session.
The Audubon Society likes the Great Salt Lake Caucus Union. They recently started moving forward with efforts to secure water rights for the Great Salt Lake, thanks to $40 million from the legislature to create a special Great Salt Lake Trust.
There's a lot of work that goes into trying to lease or acquire water for Great Salt Lake. And yes, we've been putting in place a lot of efforts to try to move forward and progress transactions for Great Salt Lake.
The trust is now able to take donations of water and money. We do have a link on our website, fox13now.com.
It's a traditionally brewed beer, and it has flavoring in it.
Some favorite beer brands could disappear from store shelves because of a quirk in Utah law. Lawmakers are negotiating the latest liquor bill on Utah's Capitol Hill. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow has the exclusive story.
I think we're going to take care of the license issue up front.
Lawmakers are expected to address a chronic shortage of bar licenses. It's been a long-standing problem, leaving some businesses waiting years to get one. The senator tasked by the Republican supermajority with handling liquor legislation says they'll pull them from fraternal lodges that have lapsed.
We're looking at taking those back and converting them to basically a full-service license and putting them back in the pool. What that will buy us is time to do a study We're going to go in and do an extensive study on alcohol licenses with other controlled states.
It should free up about 40 new licenses. The pending bill will also add 13 new airport liquor licenses. Lawmakers will also make another big change. Under current Utah law, if you order a drink in the bar area of a restaurant, you can't take it to your table.
You're not going to have to slug that down.
The goal is to prevent overconsumption, and you'll be able to carry your drink to your table.
In this day and age, we're not sure that it's a good idea that a young woman should not be in control of her drink.
Lawmakers are so far unwilling to legalize mini bottles. They also aren't planning to revisit hard seltzers. Some brands were pulled from grocery and convenience store shelves and put in state-run liquor stores because of the flavorings they use and the alcohol content in that.
I think it has to do a lot with there are certain groups that would prefer not to make alcohol any more enticing.
But the head of Utah's Beer Wholesalers Association says not addressing flavorings could lead to even bigger problems.
These are the beers that are potentially going to have some challenges if we're not able to address some of these fixes.
Some flavored beers could wind up disappearing from grocery and convenience store shelves.
Utah uses these unique definitions for flavoring and standards. They aren't tied to national standards. And so sometimes if we get that nuance wrong, it has these cascading impacts that we have to wait a whole year to fix. And so we've still got 4 weeks. I'm hopeful that the legislature will be able to see the wisdom of making some of these definitions consistent.
Senator Stevenson says they're balancing interests of consumer demand and public safety.
This won't make everyone happy, but it's another, it's a step in a direction.
Now that bill will be unveiled later this week. Negotiations continue. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, coming up, changes coming to Utah's oldest public high school. What lies ahead for West High in Salt Lake City?
And it has been a very cold day, and we'll have a very cold morning again. Here's a live view from Deer Valley. Pretty night tonight, and our feels like temperatures or the wind chill. It feels like 20 in Salt Lake, 14 in Provo, minus 17 in Manti. But how low will the temperatures fall over the morning? We'll have your forecast after this.
The Intermountain Health Transplant Program says it performed a record-breaking 300 life-saving transplants in 2022. This was the 4th consecutive record-breaking year for the program. In 2021, the team performed 289 transplants. Intermountain also continues to be the only transplant program in Utah to participate in the Paired Kidney Exchange program with the National Kidney Foundation.
A Salt Lake City landmark might not look the same in just a couple years. West High School is Utah's oldest public high school, and the West High feasibility studies, they've resulted now in 4 options the district is considering for the school. 2 of the options are proposing to preserve some of the school's original building and look. The other 2 options involve new buildings, one proposing a building on the south side of the campus, another proposing one to the east. One West High alum we spoke with hopes those in charge consider how the needs of urban high schools differ from their suburban counterparts when making their final decision.
There's a lengthier cost that about how do families access the resources there? How do they access school? How do they participate in after school events? And so to shift much away from an urban model of that, I think would be a real setback.
The Salt Lake City School District is evaluating all 4 proposed options. The districts do have a bond proposal ready to be in place on the 2023 ballot.
Still ahead, Fox 13 News talks one-on-one with a backcountry skier who was caught in an avalanche in Little Cottonwood Canyon yesterday. What he has to say about the frightening ordeal.
Big news for rookie Walker Kessler of the Utah Jazz. They have another player set to participate in the NBA All-Star Weekend in Salt Lake City. And she's the queen of the beam. We'll hear from Miley O'Keefe coming up in sports. She's the top balance beam performer in the country this season.
We're hearing from the skier who got caught in an avalanche in Little Cottonwood Canyon yesterday.
Can you imagine the frightening experience this
my.
is? Colton Holmes and his father, Rob, were skiing together in the Flagstaff area of the canyon in the backcountry. Colton says his father was the one that set off the avalanche, which was about 1 foot deep and then 100 feet wide. Thankfully, Colton was not hurt.
He felt pretty okay. He said he's like, oh, he got real nervous in the beginning, but once he saw that he was able to get right off of it, he said he was pretty okay, just because he's been doing this for a while. Like, I'm sure I would have panicked had something like that happened to me.
Wow, I'm sure a lot of people would.
Yeah, that guy's
They were in the backcountry, I'm sure, hopefully prepared with the right gear, but still, you never know.
Yep.
The Utah Avalanche Center says if you ever do get caught in a slide, that you should contact Ski Patrol right away, albeit if you're able to. They also recommend people come prepared with proper safety kits and bags and beacons. Also to check out their latest avalanche report before you head out. Hey, speaking of which, take a look at the latest forecast report. We've got it pulled up here. Take a look. Avalanche danger most in parts of the state right now has actually decreased some from yesterday. It's rated as moderate in most places, everywhere except the Logan area mountains where it's still considerable. You can always find this forecast at UtahAvalancheCenter.org. You might have heard about yesterday's 20-year low at Peter Sinks. We're talking of temperature here. This is a remote area of Logan Canyon at 62 degrees below zero yesterday. Oof. Wow, nearby Middle Sink reached a close 58 degrees below zero.
Today, Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph joined climate scientists from USU to manually check the temperature. While the Arctic air mass had moved away by 6:30 this morning, the temperatures were still 42 degrees below zero.
It's pretty Arctic.
That's pretty Arctic for anybody. For scientist Timothy Wright, chasing those record cold temperatures is a big reason why he loves what he does.
You want to hit that next benchmark, that next record. And, obviously I didn't come out here yesterday morning because of work, responsibilities, darn those responsibilities, but, here. But still, we got a chance at, minus 40.
Do you notice his eyelashes? With
Covered
frost
in snowflakes.
Yeah,
ice.
frost. While nearby Peter Sinks is close to the record coldest place in the lower 48 states, it has 2 monitoring stations, and Middle Sink does not, which is why scientists need to check it manually like they did this morning with Spencer Joseph up there.
That's incredible. Spencer posted a picture on his own Facebook page, and he had the frosted, eyelashes as well.
Yeah, well, it's quite the style up there in Middle Sink.
It's the only style these days.
That's excellent. It's great when it gets that cold, and if you try to blow bubbles out there and then they just shatter, that's always fun. All right, here's our Oquirrh Mountain camera tonight, and it is still pretty cold all around. We've got a little bit of cloud cover, but that'll be scooting on out of here. Our feels like temperatures are wind chills 20 in Salt Lake, 14 in Provo, and 7 in Price, 19 in St. George. Boy, it was cold. It was definitely cold in the Peter Sinks area, and then where people live, it was very cold as well. Logan Airport minus 27, minus 26 at Lake Town, even Vernal coming in at minus 18, Brigham City at minus 11, Salt Lake, that's a positive 10. Plus 10. You really got off easy on this one, didn't you? 20 in Salt Lake now, 11 in Park City, and 7 in Colville. It's still pretty cold everywhere, definitely below average for this time of year. 2 in Logan, 7 there in Price, and 27 in St. George. Even in Ely, it's minus 2 degrees. That's just pretty uncomfortable. Going through the evening here, our overnight lows will be slightly warmer, it'll be around 12 degrees, and then the haze will build up again tomorrow. But the temperatures will be a little warmer too. We'll get up into the upper 20s to around 30 tomorrow. So very cold morning in the forecast today and also into Thursday morning. So we've got some chilly mornings ahead here. Valley haze builds in the afternoon. We'll start to mix out some of that air on Friday with our next week cold front that comes through. And then we've got some light snow in the forecast on Sunday, but not any significant precipitation, which is a shame since we've just had so much snow. Want to keep up a good thing when you can. Well, our satellite radar shows high pressure around, not a lot of active weather going on, pretty quiet all the way here to the west. So we've got high pressure around around tomorrow. What that does is it pushes down, and especially in our valley locations where it's so cold, that locked polluted air, it just can't mix out. So tomorrow we'll have that building haze layer around, and then as this begins to move eastward later in the week, we'll increase the cloud cover and mix up the air a little bit starting on Friday. So cold temperatures again tonight, minus 13 in Logan, and the skies will begin to clear. 12 in Salt Lake, 9 in Price, 14 in Moab tonight. So pretty cold just about everywhere, but tomorrow it does get a little bit warmer. It'll be sunny, and if you can get above that inversion later and visit some of our canyons or go skiing if you're that lucky, it'll be up to 30 in Park City. It'll be a really nice afternoon there. 30 in Salt Lake, 32 in Provo, 31 in Price, and 48 in St. George. So southern Utah, once you wake up after the morning, get after about lunchtime, it should start to warm up and feel a lot better out there. So southern Utah, highs will be in the 50s going into the weekend, so that's pretty comfortable for you. Look at Saturday, 57. That's kind of nice. And the Wasatch Front, you've got the haze for the next couple of days. And boy, oh boy, we hit 40 there on Saturday. Don't get too excited, but it definitely does get warmer. And then our chance for a little bit of lighter snow moving in on Sunday. So a couple of more chilly mornings, some poor air, but then we'll mix it out at the end of the week.
Jazz center Walker Kessler has been selected to participate in the Rising Stars game. He's having a great rookie season, averaging 7 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. And he's excited to be part of NBA All-Star weekend in Salt Lake City.
Super thankful to my teammates and coaching staff. You know, I wouldn't be able to do it without them. And the fact that I'm going to be in the city where I play and all those people are going to be supporting, like I'm going to be representing them in that instance. I mean, I'm super excited. I wouldn't want to represent any other city. At the beginning of the year, this year was just about learning as much as I could. And then, you know, it kind of became, well, how can I just impact winning, you know, any way I can? And I'm a firm believer that if you pride yourself on just doing whatever you can to win, the rest of it kind of takes care of itself.
BYU's first ever Big 12 Conference football schedule is out after non-conference games against Sam Houston State, Southern Utah, and Arkansas. The Cougars open up Big 12 play at Kansas before playing Cincinnati at home. Then they play at TCU, at home against Texas Tech, Texas and West Virginia at home against Iowa State and Oklahoma, then at Oklahoma State. Well, former Utah quarterback Tyler Huntley is headed to the Pro Bowl. As the fourth alternate, he replaces Josh Allen, who's out with an injury. Huntley threw just 2 touchdowns this season for the Ravens in those games filling in for Lamar Jackson, the fewest by any QB selected to the Pro Bowl ever. Well, the 4th-ranked Utah gymnastics team will host 5th-ranked UCLA on Friday. The Utes ranked first in the country on the balance beam, with senior Miley O'Keefe leading the way. Here's Fox 13's Andrea Urban.
Miley O'Keefe ranks #1 in the nation on beam.
So challenging to turn halfway on that aerial.
She credits her teammates for allowing her to finish strong.
My beam team definitely helps me with that. I couldn't do what I'm doing without them. You know, they do a really amazing job with the first 5 positions. And then, you know, as an anchor, if the first 5 people hit, you're kind of just up there almost pressure-free, honestly. I feel like I'm just like in my zone, kind of trying to do what I do every day in the gym.
As an 11-time All-American, Miley has grown her confidence over her 4 years with Utah.
For me personally, I've grown more as a human and as a person than I have as an athlete, and that's just kind of helped my athleticism and my performances. I think just the confidence that I'm doing with this exuberates through my skills. We've been a good beam team pretty much my whole 4 years, and I feel like we're growing in a lot of ways that are necessary for us to become a national championship team.
With the Red Rocks, Andrea Urban, Fox 13 Sports.
The Red Rocks had the 2nd highest score of the season last week against Washington.
Nice.
Nearly 198, so they're right there looking to compete for a national championship.
Yeah. They're always strong, but
Yeah, they
this
are. Oh, yeah.
season in particular feels a little extra.
Let's hope so.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. We'll be right back. Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9.
Quick Cast is next.